prepared for, so.
Looking forward to it.
Looks like there's some slight delay from Rom, but here we go. So tonight we are seeing Bandit and Rom's race, whose skill in RNG will win with their pace. To find two friends, waifu and trash, may Nest never miss and always bash. On commentary will be Q and Eerie. Our goal to articulate strats clearly from Onet to Tucson and grab the fly honey. If you're a betting man, time to put down some money. For Earthbound can feel quite brutal, making you feel like everything is futile. When cultists call for help and make things scary, safer risky fights can always get hairy. But now the game has begun. Here's to the runners. Good luck on the run.
That was lovely. I'm wiping a tear from my eye. Now that both runners have hit the 1 minute and 8 second mark, we are now ready to go, and Ness jumps out of bed, and we go off on an adventure trying to find out what woke us up.
The runners both getting the bat nice and early, equipping it because we'll need it later to leave the house. And then we're going to go investigate what the heck hit the ground. At this point, it's really important to try and do as optimal movement as you can input. Little bits here and there, going exactly up and down, left and right as little as possible to get through the pathing as clean as possible can save you a couple seconds. And it's a great way to just spend a little time practicing your movement at the very beginning of the run, because you have to do it both coming up and coming down twice. Going up once, going down twice.
Fortunately for both runners, this part here is a great opportunity for them to warm up their thumbs, as there are no enemies until the next time they go up this hill.
Another thing you'll see them do sometimes is called wall riding. If you there's certain walls on this run that you can actually kind of glide off. Not only does it save a little bit of time, it's a little bit less inputs. So now it's time to meet the third best friend of the run, our good friend Pokey, as he's trying to find his little brother, who he lost at the crash site earlier. Doesn't want to get in trouble with his folks, so he asks you for help instead. You know, with our parents being cool and all, they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead, take a look for him really quick. I mean, there's only gang leaders and whatnot making trouble tonight. Like, yeah, sure, just go out. Go ahead.
Just make sure you don't do it in your PJs.
Also, bring that broken bat with you.
Now, if you forget to equip the broken bat, you get a little bit of a lecture from Pokey, wasting a couple of additional seconds, but you actually don't have to equip the bat, but it just wastes time overall to do that.
You can also walk through the door here, but it loses a little bit of time. Pokey will automatically follow you and then start the talk. Now, what you're seeing here is a moment of mashing. This is a very common thing in this game. To try and advance the text on the very first frame that it becomes available, you can mash with 4 buttons. 2 buttons are acceptable commands, aka L and A are automatically say yes, where select and B say no. The runners will be using a combination of despawning, getting mobs stuck, and stuttering to get past these mobs. This particular tile is a 100% spawn tile, and if you're new running, trying to despawn, you feel like really dumb when somebody actually tells you that.
Yeah, in this segment, you're introduced to the 3 basic movement types that you see from enemies. You've got the swoopers, which are the crows that can get stuck on walls. You've got those that charge straight at you, which are the dogs, and those that respond when you move, which are the snakes. Those are the stutterable enemies where you move a very small amount of frames, and you might be able to outmove them if you perform well enough. Rom is having some difficulties getting up the hill with 2 encounters here, and Vanny's already up at the top of the hill. Nice, clean walk.
Sometimes you just can't get the despawns. I've actually seen taking some... Oh.
Ooh. Early death. I'll put Rom behind a little, but still plenty of time to catch up.
Now, the good news is, during this first meteorite climb, taking a death isn't that big of an issue, because what you can do is quick heal up at Mom, and you don't have to worry about the photo trigger. The photo trigger is not actually in the game until the daytime. So you can run right out without meeting our friend, the cameraman, Fuzzy Pickles. Ooh. So the way that crows work is they always go left, then right. So if you can kind of get them during their right movement trying to move down to you, you can get them stuck on a tree and get past them. However, if you wait for them to get stuck and then go past, they'll swoop back into you. It's a matter of timing, and it's very precise. Out of the 3 fights, I think that the crow is the most dangerous one, personally, because of their high speed and ability to crit.
The simplest out of them is the dog, and it gives you the most experience out of all of them, ironically. Vanny has reached the first quote-unquote boss. It's a scripted boss, as in Buzz's attacks are scripted, and it's going to be shield, attack, shield, and attack. Based on that, you're basically waiting for Buzz to take down Starman Jr., hopefully within 3 rounds, ideally 2 for perfect.
Typically, this Starman fight is characterized in the amount of times that it takes Buzz to attack. So, it's not really a thing of rounds, it's more of when Buzz wants to attack, how much does he want to attack if he misses.
Vanny taking Starman Jr. down, but before 8 minutes and 30 seconds, and I would be happy with a time like that.
Now, we'll see Rom do the exact same kind of movement down the cliff, except to make a quick detour to grab a bread roll, which will be important later on. Fortunately, Lardna spots Buzz and actually has the reflexes of a tiger cat to actually swat a fly out of midair, which everyone knows is impossible. So, if you got it, rip Buzz.
Since Rom has a couple extra levels under his belt now, he's able to deal 6 damage with Ness, which could actually make a difference depending on the attacks Buzz does during this fight for him.
The good news is, looks like Rom also got not all fires, which is the slowest of all the attacks because you have to scroll through all the text. I definitely saw a freeze at least once, and I thought I saw a defend as well. Now both of our runners are making their way down to Onet proper, but first they've got to make a little stop at the secret treehouse to get the Mr. Baseball Hat. Now, using the Mr. Baseball Hat, what the runners will be doing is basically a statistical upgrade. They'll be taking the Mr. Baseball Bat, which has more stats than what you can buy in the next town. But what they will do is instead sell it for a lot of money to pick up more equipment, which will give them more stats. I'm doing the Buzz kind of story mode here. It's important that I was talking about mashing earlier being 2 buttons to mash the accept command and 2 buttons to mash the no command. And you use that really effectively during these kind of ones where you have to choose an option during these text boxes. If you just mash the yes command during this first section until you get the command, and then the no until you get the second one, you can actually clean through the Buzz commentary very quickly without having to do any sort of movement.
Vanny, having completed the first shopping sequence, is now heading down to the Sharks, swinging wide at the hospital to avoid a spawn plate to make a clean walk to the optional shark that he is encountering now. But ideally you want to take that encounter because it sets up your levels nicely for right after Frank to get some extra psychic points and level up right there.
And you taking a riskier fight on that first Pokopunk. Another option is if you get charged first turn, a lot of people what they will do is heal with that red roll there if you're trying to play it super safe. Because that Pokopunk can and will kill you. They'll charge forward 3 or 4 times, Nets will miss, and you're just going to die. Earthbound is brutal. If the game wants to kill you, it will do everything in its power to.
And it doesn't even have to try that hard.
Now, a little side note is this enemy, the Yes Man Jr. that Vanny's fighting. You want... Oh
no. Vanny taking a death here will have to take the walk back from Ness's house and take the photo trigger. But Q, you were saying something about the...
Yes Man Jr. You'd want to say no to his first text box to join Frank's gang, because otherwise he'll break the fourth wall and say, come back after you beat Earthbound.
Earthbound is wacky like that. It has a lot of breaking the fourth wall with little references like that, and it's one of those small things I love about this game.
The other thing that crow enemies can do is steal an item from you, which would be very bad at this point. Getting rid of some of your very few healing items at this point on the way back down to Onet proper.
That helps it to earn its nickname of the RPG Jerkbird.
And he's just having bad luck with these spawns. Going back in to despawn everything, hopefully. Now, with Rom hopefully finishing up the Yes Man Jr. fight, you really want to go into the first boss of the game, Frank, with full HP. Now, what I would recommend is using Psychic Points to heal as much as you can early on, because it allows you to save as many of your burgers for later on, since you'll need to fill up before going up to Giant Step, and you can refill your HP and PP after the Frank and Frankenstein fights. Anytime Frank attacks you, you want to heal because his knife attack is very, very strong to you at this level.
Ooh, and Rom taking a death at Frank as well. He will have to make the walk back, and this time have to get the photo trigger.
Yeah. The reason why you want to heal at Frank every time he damages you, because there is a minimum amount of HP that the scrolling HP meter will actually work for. If I remember right, with good bashing, you can do it as low as 23, but with such low levels of HP at this point, you kind of have to just do it anytime he hits you.
And if Frank were to smash, that increases the amount of time it takes for that HP to roll down. Then you're looking at about 26 HP in order to get a successful heal off.
So if you got Fuzzy Pickles, time to spam it in. But yes, Frank has 3 attacks. He's got his, says something nasty, which is an empty attack that reduces your guts. He's got his regular light attack, and then he's got his knife, which is his heavy attack. And you just don't want to see where Frank pick up the knife. Put down the knife, Frank. Put down the knife.
Fortunately, Vanny clears Frank and will pick up some extra psychic points to have a life up versus Frankenstein Mark II. Frankenstein Mark II is a scripted fight, as in every odd turn, 1, 3, and so on, will be a wasted turn where it generates steam, and every even turn will be an attack. The first attack will be a light attack, being a punch. After that, it'll be a 50-50 between tearing into you, between 30 and 40 damage, and the punch for around 15. The runners will be able to use that knowledge and use the scrolling HP meter in their favor as long as they have healing items left over.
So basically what you want to do is anytime you're up, close to, but around, mid 25 or higher to about 35, you want to heal on the attacking turn. That way you're not hopefully wasting any healing that you're taking in, because ideally Frankenstein will attack first. Now we'll see both runners taking the free rest from Frank. Frank's such a bro. As soon as we beat him, he names us to the leader and gives us a free place to stay. Now our runners will be going up to talk to the mayor, who is going to give us a key to the shack, which is what Buzz was saying earlier. We need to go to all 8 sanctuaries in the game. In this section of the run, Boogie %, we're only visiting the one, Giant Step, and that is blocked off by a shack that's locked. Lucky for us, the mayor, Pickle, will have the key for us and help us get out of this pickle and up into the shack into Giant Step. Before going up to Giant Steps, our runners will be stocking up with as many hamburgers as it can carry, as that will be very important for the only grinding section of this run, and for the boss fight in that place. So it's important to note in Earthbound, pretty much anytime you kill a monster, you don't really get the money. The money mostly just goes straight to your ATM, so you gotta withdraw it every single time, which is good, because it's protected from, the half loss of money whenever you die. And as the game loves to kill you, it's kind of important. And showing a little bit of the overmatch on Rom's side, accidentally buying a can of fruit juice. That's something that is very, very common. It's very annoying to have happen, too.
Yeah, the can of fruit juice heals about 6 HP, which is about the same as a cookie. So at this point, it doesn't have much utilization in the run.
Rom showing off the skip of the text box there. If you walk directly up to the shack building, it'll say, hey, the door's locked, and then you can use it. But if you walk to where he stood there, use the key, you can actually skip that text box. About a second saving.
Now that both runners have entered Giant Step, they're going to be looking for 4 packs of slugs here on the bottom floor. Looking for a total of 16 at first, and then from that point on, the choices can diverge depending on your personal strategy. You can continue to grind 4 packs of slugs till you have a total of 22, which would bring you to level 8. Or you can, after getting the 16 on the bottom floors, you can move your way up to the top floor and grab a 6-pack of slugs, which will get you exactly to 22 and not 24, which the other method would. Both have their advantages and disadvantages, but the runners are looking to get to level 8, which will give them their first offensive psi attack, or rocking, or whatever their favorite thing is at that time.
Now, the slugs individually have 30 HP, so if you have lower attack, what you want to do is, instead of auto-fighting it, which saves time if you get at least 30 attack on all of your swings, you want to individually bash them so you don't spread out damage between the slugs. You want to kill the slugs with each swing. The other thing is mice, you can take those fights if you're struggling stuttering or despawning them. They count as much as one slug, but they take longer to fight, then they typically do way more damage than S.
Due to their stats, they have a nasty habit of being able to smash you for the additional damage, which is quite unfortunate.
Now, there's really 2 strategies to this grind, and Ari and I are of differing opinions on this one. Again, 2 schools. You can either stay on the first floor to grind up all the slugs, and those are going to be at best 4-pack that you can get. Now, the advantage of staying on the first floor is you only have to deal with slugs and mouse spawns. So if you're not really good at figuring out, okay, what's a slug, what's an antoid, this is more recommended. But you have to go through all the way back up through the giant step to get to the top, as opposed to the top method, which looks for a 6 slug spawn and just tries to get out immediately, with dealing with the antoids and other things that are in tighter quarters.
I'm a personal favorite of that technique just because on the way up to the top floor, you can actually still encounter the 4-packs, but you got to be careful and determine the difference between the two packs which have antoids and antoids only, and the 4-packs. And 2 packs can get close together and mix you up if you're not careful.
Now, if you are a fan of either method, the top method really doesn't have rocking going the way up, but the bottom method does. If you ever get like a large pack, feel free to use a rockin', because once you get outside, there's a 95% butterfly spawn that you can respawn, so you can refill up on all of your psychic points before going further into giant stuff.
Rom doing the progressive slug grind there, taking a 4-pack on the middle floor there. I lost count here, so I'm not quite too sure who's ahead. Q, do you know who's ahead here on the slug count?
I am notoriously bad about counting my slugs. I have been known to take additional fights. Unfortunately, I missed it.
I think Rom might be ahead because he's trying to make that progressive swing upstairs. We'll see if Fanny gets level 7 off of this fighter's already there.
Now, the other thing is, once our runners hit level 8, they'll probably be both checking their statuses to see how much attack they have. This is a very important stat because it allows us to determine whether or not we can kill a single Antoid enemy without having to fight it. If you have 24 or more attack, what you can do, as long as you don't get ambushed by a single Antoid fight, you will automatically win said fight. Which is why it's also important to buy the bat when you first get down into Onet.
Yeah, the correct bat at the start of the game gives you 4 offense, and the T-ball bat that they're using right now gives them 8 offense, doubling what they had, and later on the Sandlot bat will give them 15 offense.
So Vanny did have the requisite offense.
And Rom pulled up a 25 on his offense as well, so we're going to have them being able to take the single slug fights.
And kind of showing off the difference between the strats. When it goes well and you can get to that top floor, you will save time. However, it can go very badly when you're sitting at that low attack value and you can't auto-win those fights going up against single ants.
Yeah, as we can see now, Vanny's having a little bit of difficulty trying to move forward. Not being able to stutter around and just trying to completely despawn the groups there. And I see less Dragoon in there. It's not over yet. There's still a lot of RNG that can happen, especially with the Titanic Ant fight here.
Heck, we saw 2 deaths already this run. One to Yes Man Jr. and one to Old Franklin.
Now with Titanic Ant, it's going to be a similar strategy as to Frank. When you take any kind of damage, you really want to heal, because Titanic Ant has a nasty habit of being able to smash and depleting your health really quickly. And if Ant pulls off a double smash, there may be a chance you're not recovering from that at all.
Yeah, if I remember right, with average stats, Ant does around 20 damage with a light attack, around 40 damage with its heavy attack, and 60 damage with its smash attack. In addition, it can also be annoying and steal your psychic points, which is what you don't want early rounds, but you want later on. And it also puts up a shield if the fight goes long enough, which will halve your damage to it.
Yeah, fortunately for Rom, had a real clean fight there and took down Ant very quickly. We'll see if the same happens for Vanny.
Now, when you get Giant Step, what happens is not only do you have the little nice cutscene with the music, your HP and your PP get fully restored. In addition, once you clear a sanctuary, all the mobs in the area will instinctually run from you.
Unfortunately for Vanny, Ant did pull off psychic points and not leave enough for him to pull a second rocking attack. So he did get a high roll of 99, but he still has over 100 to smash through. So we're hoping that the Shield of Light doesn't come out, or at least stack. And with the last second heal there, and a gut save.
Oh wow, what a time for a magnet. That looked like an overbash from Vanny. You have to be really careful when you're running in this these first couple fights, because an error in menuing will most likely be a death.
The gut save mechanic that happens there, you can take mortal damage from attack, but if you roll a gut save, you will stop at 1 HP, and it'll give you a chance to do one more round, and then you're hoping everything goes right to get off the healing. So gut save can be really good when in this type of situation, or bad later on when you're trying to do a death warp with an annoying mole.
Oh wow. That is a situation where an ant fight was going very poorly. I think Vanny had exactly 1 hamburger left. Sometimes Ant just gets really aggressive and just wants to go for your face all the time, and you're just like, I'm healing, I'm running out. And he can just exhaust you and just completely wipe the floor with you. Rom entering the cops fights. Now, cops have 2 attacks. They've got a light attack and a crushing chop. Typically, what you want to do is if you get below 35 or so, you want to life up. And if you're around mid-50s, low 50s, you want to use a burger instead. Because you want to, keep that higher HP because cops have such varying damage to you. The other thing that cops can do is drop a hamburger in a clutch situation. It's rare, but it can, and it has saved runs before. Now, what we'll do is we'll fight 4 of them, and then the 5th one will call their boss on us. And their boss is Captain Strong, and ideally we want to save enough psychic points to have 2 rockets for him. Now, the funny thing is that 5th cop is actually fightable. I was just told the other day, I believe, from either Serum or Hunter, that if you get out of bounds, you can actually go and fight that 5th cop. They programmed it in.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And he does have a battle phrase as well. It's, go, Oog. I mean, let's go.
Actually, it was you, and I'm apologizing now.
That's all right. A lot of people know about it, spreading it around, so you might have heard it from them too. Now, Rom took an aggressive stance there and used Rockin' on an earlier cop, so there's only enough for 1 Rockin'. As long as it rolls high, Strong only has 150 HP, so you can bash through the rest in about 2 turns, as long as you're good on healing and working your way through.
The other thing that can also happen, and I can't jinx it now, but Rockin' is the only offensive psychic ability that can miss, because it's based off a speed stat, similar to like the bottle rockets. It can actually miss, and you can just lose a run to Rockin's missing Strong, and Strong just goes to your face and submission holds it until you can't breathe.
Let me tell you, if you think 1 missing is bad, 2 in a row missing is terrible, and it's still survivable. It can be done. You're just crossing your fingers and hoping at that point.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's had 2 miss, man. That doesn't sound familiar at all.
More familiar with it than I want to be.
Sadly.
Oh, I'm just happy I survived that.
It always makes a good story when you have these kind of epic ones where you can go back later to other speedrunners of this game and just say, hey, you ever have this situation come up and survive? Earthbound RNG, shrug.
Ooh, unfortunately, Rom took a Ramblin' Shroom fight, which can smash and kill, or worse off, it can mushroomize you, which causes you to sometimes attack yourself and act funny, and will mess up your controller.
So the neat thing is, something I learned recently is, speaking of mushroomize, is when you're actually doing that, it will do is switch every couple seconds, and essentially what it does is just turns your controller 90 degrees. So if you've got a controller, this is a helpful tactic. Just turn the controller every time it switches your controls.
If you happen to get mushroomized a second time later on in a run, remember where that layout is, because it'll actually pick up where the last messed up control left off was. So it'll pick up from there and continue the rotation from there.
Looks like Rom is actually fairly familiar with the mushroomized. So it looks like his movement is pretty on point.
Yeah, the only danger will be if he gets into an accidental encounter.
Now, if you do get mushroomized, and this is something I learned recently, as I lost the last time I was doing the weekly do this, you can actually cure it up in the hospital. You talk to the witch doctor on the first floor.
It looks like in this case, Ram is probably going to hold out until Peaceful Rest Valley. There's a little girl there who will buy it off of you for $50. Vanny just reached Strong, and we'll see how Vanny deals with Strong. Hopefully it'll be nice and clean.
I'll be honest, that's kind of a gutsy move knowing PRV. PRV, the land of pincers and not fun. The only thing I hate more is Hate Fruit Falls.
Well, fortunately, the girl's not too far in. She's actually right by that entrance to the cave, so you actually don't have to deal with any of the encounters. Just if you do something in the caves, then you're dealing with sprouts or mushrooms. Strong is down for Vanny, so we'll see Vanny make his way down to Tucson and see if we can catch up to Rom.
The other thing these runners are looking for on their way to Peaceful Rest Valley and the Pencil is before they get to actually Happy Happy Village, they're going to want to find at least 2 butterflies. This is to restore their psychic points and heal up and whatnot before reaching Happy Happy.
Vanny there dodging a ninja shroom, hiding in the tree line, which is something that can happen. Rom trying to make his way to the mushroom girl there.
And Rom successfully getting paid by a little girl for a little boy's mushroom.
Now, in PRV, there are 4 different types of enemies. You've got the UFOs, which you see on both sides of Rom there. You can outrun them vertically, but if you get into a horizontal line with them, they're going to hit you. You've got Whirling Robos, which are diamonds, which have quite erratic movements. You've got Sprouts, which charge right at you, and you've got Oak Trees, which you can outrun as long as you aren't close with them to begin with.
Out of those, the scary ones are really the UFOs and the Oak Trees. Because the UFOs are very, very fast, and since, again, Rockin' is based off the speed stat, your primary way to get out of these fights in PRV is really, for the most part, either kill them or run away. UFOs being super high speed, running away, unlikely, killing them, since you want to use Rockin' mostly. Ooh, tried to force it there. They can actually dodge them.
Smart move there, using the Rockin' to quickly clear out the mushrooms there, not dealing with another mushroomized incident. Nothing worse than Nest shooting Rocking at himself because he's confused. But taking another fight trying to chase after that butterfly there, oh, that was not the greatest of moves there.
Now I've got a question. Will the girl buy more than 1 mushroom from you?
She'll buy as many as you have. So you can use that to your advantage over and over again.
Butterflies restore 20 PP, and I believe 20 HP if I remember correctly.
Just the PP. You can use life up before that and just get another butterfly to recover the lost points.
Yes, Mushroom Girl is the Sultana of Shiitake. So after coming back from looking at the iron pencil, Apple Kid will give us a call saying, hey, I got this brand new invention. And he'll give us this pencil eraser and instruct us specifically, whatever you do, don't use it near a pencil shop. That would be a very difficult situation to explain.
Rom will now be moving into the bulk of PRV, which is where all the spawns normally are. Unfortunately, getting jerked around by that butterfly, being unable to get it. There's a couple spots where that may happen just due to the spawn spots, but we'll see if Rom handles the spawns well here.
Now in PRV, there are actually two high percentage chances for a butterfly to spawn, one being right where Rom grabbed it, and the later being near the exit of PRV into Happy Happy.
Rom looks like he's trying to go for the couple life noodles there. That's a very dangerous move in some cases because you can end up pincered down in that alley there between enemies and you're stuck to get out. Looks like he changed his mind though. If you were to grab the couple life noodles, when you death warp later on, you can skip the hospital. Rom is now going to enter the next shopping sequence here. They're going to pick up the Sandlot Bat, which will increase your offense to 15 for the bat, and pick up the Holmes hat. And if you are in need of healing items, you can buy a couple of croissants, or you could go to the fresh egg stand below and not pay anything. If you're shopping there, it might be a little quicker to pick up the croissants because they're right there next to the bat.
And everyone likes croissants. Oh, it's time to go meet waifu, I mean Paula. And she has a gift for us, the Franklin badge, saying it will protect us from Car Painter and its special lightning powers. And we'll meet Pokey again, who's made some new friends, and they just really want to talk to us for some reason. This is an unrunnable encounter because it's flagged as cultists and it's a story progression encounter. And what these cultists can do and are doing is doing the very scary thing, calling for help.
Fortunately, the call for help went out before the first rocking, so the damage did get dealt to all of them, allowing Rom to deal with them very quickly in the second turn with the second rocking.
It can rapidly become a cultist block party, and everyone knows the cultist block party don't stop until they serve the Kool-Aid.
There was one runner recently who defied the Kool-Aid and survived Cultist G. It was quite an amazing sight.
Now, due to that shack fight, all cultist encounters, including ones you find on the overworld, are unrunnable encounters. Get a green swirl? Great. Can't run from it. You gotta fight it anyways.
Yeah, unfortunately, there aren't separate enemy identities for the cultists. A couple of other enemies that you do see in multiple spots, like snakes and dogs, do have a couple of entries into the game, but cultists only have one, and so that's why they're all unrunnable, as Q was saying.
Now, in addition, the cultists also hit Nest for quite a bit at this point. So when you get those rapid calls for help into multiple cultists, and it takes you 3 turns to bash them out, you're going to be taking a lot of damage.
Ooh, that crow on Vanny denied the rocking 2 times, having to finish it off with a bat, but successfully survived Shack Fight, and now we'll be heading to Carpainter as well. Carpainter is a scripted fight in which you'll be able to know the attacks that are coming up. It starts off with Thunder, and followed by Life Up, followed by a mid-level attack, Thunder again, the Psychic Shield. By that point, you want to get off any rockings that you're going to get off, followed by a mid-level attack, and the cycle repeats from there with those 6 turns.
Yeah, so ideally, if you want to play it safe, you can bash on the first turn, see if Carpainter hits himself with lightning. But you really want to not outspeed Carpainter on the second turn after the Life Up and get off all of your rockings before the 4th turn. You don't want to use Life Up during this encounter, and the main reason is if you try and Life Up during a lightning strike, you can nullify the lightning from hitting due to the bug with the Franklin badge.
Yep, you'll see the Life Up reflect off, but Rom had a very nice Carpainter fight there, dispatching of them very quickly.
Then you get through Cultist fight. Oh, that's always a sigh of relief whenever I get through that fight, personally.
A little fun fact about the lightning is, at this point in the game, it has a 25% chance to strike Ness. The chance that it has to strike your party is dependent on the amount of party members in your party. So by the time you have 4 alive people in your party, it will be 100% chance to strike you. But the moment one of the kids dies, it becomes 75 and drops by 25% after that. Vanny very nicely clearing Carpainter. So that'll be pretty much on a good pace for both of them here. The Death Warp coming up can be a factor on how much time you lose. There are 2 options that the runners can pick. They can go into Lilliput Steps and Death Warp there, typically off of a mole, which to me, it can be a time-wasting mole depending on how many times it just is absent-minded or confuses itself and hits itself. Or you can go out to PRV and get into a combination of spawns out there, which are very aggressive.
Fortunately, it looks like the mole just went straight after Paula, which is always a kind of a thing that makes me worried. Because the mole, typically for me at that point, just wants to get confused all the time and kill itself. Now the advantage is once you get below that 15 health points, you can just defend instead. because defend reduces the damage that you take by half, and it's a little bit faster than using the ATM card.
And as we can see here, the mole wasted quite a few turns on Rom, giving Vanny a chance to make up some of the difference here, depending on how Vanny's Death Warp is going to go and what Vanny will choose to do. Now that Rom is back in Tucson, he needs a total of $100 to revive Paula at the hospital here. You'll see some runners pick up 300. That's probably just a carryover from the full any percent glitchless, which you pick up $300 for shopping later on. But in Boogie percent, you don't need to do that.
The only advantage of grabbing the extra money there would be if you want to grab a couple extra safeties for going into the Boogie fight if you've got exceptional Jeff luck. Now, the advantage of doing this Death Warp is you go straight to the hospital, and on your way down to Polestar, you kind of pass by the Runway 5 show, so you can pick up the backstage pass right when you're going through it, kind of on the way. And that means you won't forget it later on. And then it's time to meet the second best friend of this run, our good friend Everdread, who we've never met before. But now he wants to give us money, which automatically makes him a really good friend in my book.
Vanny is having a really tough time here. The mole is just not cooperating. And finally, the mole takes out Ness. One of the alternative strategies that these runners could have taken, I hinted to earlier, was going down for the Cup of Life noodles in Peaceful Rest Valley, known as Vogler strats. If you're making a conscious decision very early on, you can save at the bus stop and then use the Cup of Life noodles there on Paula, cutting down a backtracking moment from the hospital to Polestar Preschool, and save yourself quite a bit of time depending on how the strats overall worked out for you.
Now, the important thing is when entering the Chaos Theory to go theater to watch the Runway 5 show, you're trying to also avoid a photo trigger. You can do that by hugging the wall from the right side going in, and then there's two ways going out, because when in doubt, avoid the cameraman, save some time. Now, with the Runway 5 show, we see the game's first input break. Now, this is very important. Don't pull a Skyrunner tactic. Wait till you get through all the text and actually start the show before you want to go and take your little input break.
For being a brief show, that is a very catchy tune, and I do enjoy humming along to it in my head.
I always dance. The advantage is you get an encore performance on our way to Threed.
Ooh, Vanny very nicely dodging the rogue cop there. That was some good movement there.
Rom remembering that to talk to the KSC owner to turn in the money, you have to go to the side in the back of the desk. It's a little annoying where you're like, hey, I've got a wad of bills here. Take it. And he's like, it's too far away. I can't tell what it is. I do want to remind everyone, this race is still very, very close. There are still many, many times that you can lose to the hardest enemy in the game. You can lose on your path down for Winters. You can lose in a Pond Cave really easily. You could get in an accidental fight with a Cave Boy. Lots of places that leads can instantly switch in this, especially how close it is.
And then we still got Boogie 10 itself, which could still also be a run decider, which we saw just earlier today as well.
Trash being Jeff, rolls like bad, missing Rockins. Boogie Cannon will kill you.
Now that Ness and Paula are in 3, they're going to make their way to the northwest, to the graveyard, to see a group of 2 zombies for them to look them over, peer into their souls, and make their way back out. There's a couple different choices you could approach on the high side and avoid some spawn plates up above. You could approach low and avoid lower spawn plates. Just really not waiting to get into a fight here because enemies can very easily take you out. Rom doing some very good dodging there, avoiding spawn encounters, and now making his way back to the hotel to meet a person there and follow her into a hotel room. Ooh.
Yep. This was a 3-gate conspiracy. We're trying to follow our content, Dead Throat.
The life lessons these runners learn every time. You think they wouldn't repeat the same mistakes over and over. And now we are introduced to quite a divisive party member in the community. I think we already know Q's feeling on calling Jeff trash, but this is Jeff, who can be the best and the worst character in the game, depending on how Jeff is treating you that run. And on Vanny's side, it looks like getting into a nasty encounter there with some flies and no psychic points left. It's not going to end well. Did you see if Vanny made the way up to the zombies first or tried to get away?
Looks like he's getting blocked by ninja flies.
I do see a question in the chat about the mysterious lady outside the hotel. There is a second time you are able to see that lady. That is on the beach at Summers. You can encounter her, but she has absolutely no memory of what happened.
Now, after using the bad key machine to get our equipment for Jeff, what we're going to do is go get the NPC, I will cautiously call him, Bubble Monkey. Known for causing rage and losing runs, Bubble Monkey. And it's a bit because of the way that he moves. Basically, every once in a while, he'll forget what the heck he's doing, and he'll be like, I'm going to derp out right here. You know, there's no enemies nearby, whatnot, so I don't have to worry about it. And cause us to get a lot of extra encounters and not be able to pull off skips, and Bubble Monkey's great.
The only time you're hoping when he stops is when you can use it to a tactical advantage to green swirl an enemy on this upper part, but you can't count on it at all.
Now, when we're approaching the stew tent, there's a couple options. Either you can hold on to the defensive spray, which Jeff will fix during the night, and it will cost you an additional text box, but it's an additional safety that you can sell later, or you can throw it away and skip that text box for time. But the good news is, what's going to happen next is we are going to meet the very best friend of the game. Everyone's favorite NPC. All right, chat. You know what time it is. It's time to load up the lock with the purple prehistoric plesiosaur, the amicable amphibian. It's time for Tessie Hype. Let me see those MSVPs.
As Jeff wards Tessie, I do ask for a moment of silence out of respect for the majestic Tessie. Now that Tessie is gone, Jeff will be moving down in a down diagonal left pattern. That is to avoid 100% spawn plate in that group of trees right there, which there is a gruff goat, and you just definitely want to avoid that encounter, as being the basic level will very quickly kill Jeff. And now we encounter the toughest boss of the game, the worthless protoplasm.
When in doubt, remember that Jeff is not ram tough.
Oh. Unfortunately for Rom, the protoplasm called for help the first time. There's a couple of things you can do. You can continue to fight through and hope that the protoplasms don't attack, which Rom has been very lucky so far. Or some other runners will defend and try to push it out to turn 5 or 6, and then you are able to run away. But Rom was able to shoot his way through and take down both protoplasms, getting some nice levels off of that.
What I'll probably do is heal with the boiled egg there, which is a smart move, just in case you struggle getting the duck skip or the Proto 2 skip.
Rom not wasting any time, diving right into that duck. Duck has 1 in 4 chance to attack. The rest of it is turn wasters or taking away Jeff's PP, which he has none. But it can be very dangerous if the duck were to attack every single turn.
And on Vanny's screen, we have the second coming of Tennessee, our Lord and Spazer. May his majesticness shine on.
Meanwhile, Rom getting a very nice second protoplasm skip. Bubble Monkey did stay close to Jeff the entire time, allowing him to bypass that and moving on to Pond Cave. With Pond Cave, you see the return of slugs and rowdy mice. The dots are slugs no matter what. There are no antoids in this cave. You're going to be doing what's some call a progressive despawn, trying to continually move forward while not taking any encounters. If you do encounter a single slug, Jeff is able to instant win against one slug, so it's not necessarily the worst idea to take a single slug fight and maybe stutter around a couple of others. In these middle sets of rooms here, you have the possibility of doing some aggressive stuttering, but that comes with a major risk. You may stutter into another group of enemies and find yourself stuttering back. And as more enemies load onto the screen, the tougher it is to stutter due to the lag that is introduced from it. If there's a mushroom on screen, if it's far enough away, you can use that to your advantage and have it not spawn any additional enemies. Rom getting through both of these rooms fairly easily.
Now, that was the last showing of Tessie in this run, but if you do play the full Glitchless run, you get to actually see him an additional time. If nothing else, seeing more Tessie makes everyone happy. I'm waiting for Bubble Monkey to get nice and close to the rope before using the pack of bubble gum. That's an important thing, because if you use it while Bubble Monkey is off derping around in a corner, what will happen is he will use the gum instantly, but then he'll slowly float up to the rope, and you're just like, why, Bubble Monkey, why?
Unfortunately for Vanny, the toughest boss of the game did take him down, and he will have to refight the first protoplasm. If you are able to get away from enemies in the first room or take them down, they will not respawn, as they are scripted fights in Brick Road. Being that you can't get red swirled, you can't get green swirls. It's a pretty even place for gray swirls, and just working your way through it. We now do get to listen to one of my personal favorite tracks, the Skyrunner. It is a couple minute sequence, so this is a very nice input break. If you're doing the full run, it's a nice break. Here, it's right before the final boogie boss, so it's not quite as useful in this shorter run, but you still get to listen to the awesome soundtrack.
Now, the Skyrunner is one of the longest input breaks in the first part of the run. It's a great time if you need to use the restroom, get a drink, get a snack, if you're doing a full glitchless run. However, during the Boogie percent category, it's kind of the marking of nearing the end. But still makes a great input break if you just have to go, just in case you think that, your luck is going to be Jeff.
Vanny, it looks like there's having some difficulty with the spawns in this first cave room here. Hopefully they'll get out of the way soon and allow him to move through the second and third rooms. When Jeff officially joins the party here, you do have an option to say no. And he's like, "Why'd you call me here? Was it just to make fun of me?" And it's just a little fun comment there to give you a little insight to the nature of Jeff.
What is it, like 2 to 3 seconds time loss? Saying
Yeah.
no to Jeff?
Yeah, if you just keep mashing through, it's about 2 to 3 seconds. It's a very short brief, and you loop right back into the option again.
Sounds worth it to me.
All right, Rom picked up the teddy bear in preparation for Bogey 10 here and is going into the final boss encounter for this run. There's a lot that can happen, and the runners have a couple different approaches. You can use Rockin', Paula's Psy Attack, and a Big Bottle Rocket, or you can defend, Big Bottle Rocket.
Interesting. You went with a regular bottle rocket there. And with Boogie 10's health pool, I would not have recommended that. Just in case he wants to go straight after Jeff.
I'm hoping that was just a mistake.
Low roll.
Ooh, that was low. I was just hoping that was a mistake and maybe come off with a higher roll, but now he's got to get rid of the rest, maybe about 140 HP left. Yeah, my count was off. But with the defeat of Bogey 10th, this match will be going to Rom.
It's important that you do not split until you grab the Fly Honey. The reason it's called Boogie percent as opposed to Fly Honey percent is just because Fly Honey percent isn't as catchy. But Rom has now finished with an official SRL time of 1:13:48. That I should look at the standing for their bracket.
Yeah, Vanny here will be making the final approach, going through the input break here. Most likely we'll pick up the teddy bear and have an option to see what goes on for Vanny's strategy, whether it's going to be defend, bottle rocket, or a combination of different options.
With that, Vanny goes up, and that should put him in second place for Group Ness. Hello Boing is 2-0, and he's now looks like tied with Maladroit. I'll have to check the standing on that. At a standing of 1-1. So it looks like Group Ness has one more round to go through on all players. In the event of a tie during group phase, it will be determined by the average of the best 2 times. So
Rom here looks like progressing with the story. Just a little bit of fun information there. You get a call from Applecade, who has another genius invention that happens to forward the plot for you. Another plot device called zombie paper. You lay it down in the tent, you go to bed, and then you're able to proceed through the graveyard in the northwest towards where you were blocked earlier, making your way towards the bad guy for this area that controls everything that's going on. Vanny did pick up the teddy bear, and we'll see what Vanny decides to do with the encounter. Looks like Vanny will be picking up some safety items from the arms dealer here, probably a couple of bottle rockets. Vanny's taking the same strategy, and Boogie Tent actually attacking the teddy bear, which does have a 75% chance of soaking up the damage. And wow, that was an awesome big bottle rocket. 677, more than the HP that the Boogie Tent has, which is a total of, I believe, 579 HP points.
no deaths of Boogie today, and that's actually really good. And he's wrapping up through this text here that you have to go through the leveling, which in Boogie percent sometimes it is advantageous for have something like Paula to get killed off during the first turn, just so you don't have as much text to get through.
And Vanny has finished with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 11 seconds.
Now, unfortunately, that is the last Earthbound race of the night, as it is now Sunday for some of us. No deaths of Boogie today, and that's actually really good. And he's wrapping up through this text here that you have to go through the leveling, which in Boogie percent sometimes it is advantageous for have something like Paula to get killed off during the first turn. And it just looks like got a couple races tomorrow. The races tomorrow being at
Vanny has finished with an official SRL time of
Eastern time in the afternoon
and 11 seconds.
We have one at 4 p.m. and that's between. Now, unfortunately, that is the last Earthbound race of the night. JT Norimaki and Recursive is the one tomorrow at 4 p.m. And then we have one at 5:30 p.m. And that's between Siren and Penguin 8R, and those will both be on Speed Gaming 1. And then we finally have one very late at night on Saturday, technically on Sunday at 12 p.m. EST, 11 p.m. I'm sorry, 12 a.m. EST, 11 p.m. Central Time. and that will be between Salty Fry and BR Stallings 23. So plenty of Earthbound action tomorrow. If you're still looking for some more speedrunning action tonight, the ALTTP randomizer qualifiers, I believe, are still going on currently. And any closing words there, Ari?
Absolutely. I'd like to thank once again the tournament organizers and the admins for all the work that they put in so far. Give the runners a follow. They both put on a fantastic run tonight, and they definitely deserve a follow there. They both performed well tonight. And thank you, Q, for letting me join you here on commentary tonight. Oh, and of course, thank you to Speed Gaming for hosting us and Fiesel for all the awesome works again. And then thank you, Q, for letting me join you in commentary tonight.
No, I had a fun time like usual. I love doing commentary. It's always fun for me to do. Love watching all these strats and explaining stuff. And from us in the Earthbound community, may Ness never miss, always roll smashes. May there be no calls for help. And let's all praise Tessie, the glorious, glorious MS Pain piece. And that's a good night from me.
Have a good night, everyone.
Okay. Well, that sucked. To be perfectly frank, I I was I actually, Rom actually spotted me about like a 2 minute or so lead, by getting all kinds of encounters on the hill and then ripping to one of them, and I saw that and I was like, oh my god. So I got greedy during the fights before Frank, and that Yes Man Jr., who is normally a rather safe fight and just does, either laughs or does small damage, did his strong attack 3 times in a row. And after the second one, once I tried to recover at that point, it was too late and I ripped. That ended up costing me about, I'm looking at my splits here, cost me about a little over 3 minutes, about 3 minutes and 10 seconds. And so I gave pretty much all of that lead back. And then once he got through his grind and through the ant, he was noticeably ahead. And he never looked back after that. I just couldn't catch him. He was just playing too well. So, but I think he got a. Oh, what was that? Hold on, what was that? No, that's not what I wanted. I want. Let's do this. Let's see here. I did not. Erafrim, thank you so much for the follow and welcome aboard the van. I didn't see who the first follow was, so thank you for that follow too. I appreciate it, and I. Oh, it looks like it was Kyuketsuki. If that was you, thank you so much for the follow and welcome aboard the van.